Hello everyone, before we get into today's video, here's a quick roundup of this week's fragrance community news. First of all, Jeremy Fragrance has announced that he will no longer be featuring nubile young women in his videos, as he wants to concentrate on in-depth reviews of niche fragrances. Next, a young fan and subscriber of the Fragrance View channel has reacted to Peter's announcement that he's gone off the House of Matriarch fragrances and will now be selling his collection and buying a large bottle of Dior Sauvage. And finally, the organisers of a fragrance community charity go-kart race have admitted it may have been a mistake to invite the head of Dua Fragrances and Dell from Bottom Note to take part in the race. Hello everyone, welcome back. So today we're going to be having a look at a classic citrus aromatic fragrance first released in 1984, and this is Armani's Eau pour Homme. So this was the first fragrance for men released by the house of Giorgio Armani, a classic citrus aromatic, as I say. Let's get into the note listing for this one. So in the top we have bergamot, mandarin, basil, lemon and tangerine. Depending where you look, there's some different listings, but I've taken from different places and included everything. In the mid we have cloves, lily, nutmeg and lavender, and in the base we have patchouli, oak moss and sandalwood. Okay, now my version is the old formulation, of course released in 1984, was around for many years after that. I'm not sure at what point the change happened, or even I'm not quite sure if there was an interruption when it wasn't available at all. If you see one with the black bottom and black top to the thing, it's the older formula. The new one, re-released apparently in 2013, looks like this. And some people say it's different and it's been reformulated for the worse. I've smelled it quite a few times in the shop and I can't tell a big difference, but I haven't worn the new version, so I don't think it's a disastrous reformulation. And I think if you enjoy my review and it sounds appealing to you, you're going to have a hard time stumbling across an old one like this. If you can get it, it's preferable to get the old one, but by all means go out and check the new one, and everything I'm saying here from what I've smelled so far would apply to the new one. I'm not quite sure about the longevity and performance on the new one, but I personally don't think that there's been a massive horrendous reformulation with this one. Of course things have changed, perhaps the oak moss has been limited in the new version. Anyway, let's talk about how this old version, the one I'm used to, smells. So, a classic citrus aromatic fragrance, as you would expect. It opens with notes of citrus. A lovely, zesty, sparkling citrus smell comes straight out of the bottle with this one. I've listed some different citrus notes: lemon, tangerine, mandarin. It's hard to pick out exactly which ones are and maybe aren't there. It smells bright, it smells citrusy. It's a very, very pleasant, classic men's fragrance opening. Straight away though, I get a little bit of sweetness with this one, which could come from the clove or maybe the lavender. And I also get this really nice woodiness from a fairly early point on in the smelling of this fragrance. So the mid and base notes are very, very important in this one, and the patchouli I think is a key factor in giving it, and the oak moss, giving it this little bit of an old school men's aftershave smell. There are no animalic notes in this one, so it's not like things from the 70s like Givenchy Gentleman. It doesn't have, you know, castoreum or any of the things that are in things like Antaeus from Chanel in the 80s. So it is very much a more likeable, easy to wear cologne than some of those heavier ones, but it does have this certain old school 70s or 80s men's aftershave smell that I think I often associate with when there's a decent dose of patchouli and or oak moss. They give things these little slightly heavy masculine underlying feel, but this one has so much likability and freshness and zestiness that it's very much on the wearable side of the old school fragrance game. Fragrances that you could compare it to that you may have smelled: Dior's classic Eau Sauvage from 1966, one of the all-time great designer citrus aromatics. There's a lot of people really compare this one. There's a similarity, but I would say it's more similar in smell to YSL Pour Homme, which I mentioned in my last video, from 1971. That's available now in the La Collection reissue series, and I think there's a marked similarity between these two. Both have a lovely zesty, citrusy freshness mixed with some herbal aromatics and an underlying sort of rugged masculinity. The Yves Saint Laurent one maybe has a little bit more of the masculine hair on your chest vibe, but this one has a healthy dose of it too, but just maybe lightened up a little bit as things changed in the fragrance world in the 1980s. So lavender is mentioned, and I know Nikhil from Nikhil's Frags, a great reviewer who knows a lot about oud and all these kind of exotic fragrances, the whole Middle Eastern tradition in perfumery, but also really respects the Western tradition too, and he put it in his favourite barbershop scents video. And indeed the lavender does give us just a bit of that classic barbershop type smell vibe. It does in fact remind me quite a bit of Acqua di Parma's original Colonia from 1916. So if you're interested in those kind of fragrances, if you like things like that one, things like Dior's Eau Sauvage, this is an alternative. Prices on this one seems to go for a standard kind of designer price of around about the £70 mark for 100ml, but you may be able to find it discounted here and there. I saw it on eBay for around 50 something pounds for 100ml in the UK, and you may be able to get better deals. So if you can find it for a discount price, it could be a really good deal on this fragrance. But retail is not super cheap, so it's not a cheapie or anything like that. Armani, of course, a classy house. Some of their other fragrances really well known in the fragrance community are Armani Code, Armani Code Profumo, those kind of fragrances, very popular with a lot of the other reviewers. This one doesn't get so much mention and it's a little bit unloved, but it's very widely available in stores that stock Armani perfumes, but it tends to be not the one that they're plugging, and maybe it's just bought by a lot of people for their granddad or their uncle, and maybe not too many young men are discovering this one, but we should be if we're interested in classic citrus smells. The performance on it is really quite nice. It's not a beast mode, really strong scent, but for a citrus aromatic type fragrance, it performs quite well and lasts for quite a long time. You get a really sharp burst in the beginning. I've gotten one compliment on it, which I was also wearing the aftershave balm that I got free with mine. Don't know if that helped, and that smells really nice and similar to the fragrance. And I did get one very rare for me unsolicited compliment in a shop from the lady serving, and that was soon after I'd applied. And encouraged by the compliment, I said to the young lady in the shop, "You're closing in 10 minutes, aren't you? Fancy coming back to my place for a quickie?" And after that, they kicked me out and they won't serve me there anymore. But nevertheless, it was nice to get the compliment. So it gives a real strong burst when you first apply it. Does die down to become just, I think, average in performance after an hour or two. So I don't think it's a beast mode fragrance, even in the old formula. I'd love to hear comments on the new formula from people who've worn it extensively, because I don't know too much about it. I would say the basic smell seems very similar, but let me know if the longevity is good, poor, average. This one I think is in the good category for a citrus aromatic, but it's not anything incredible. So a classic citrus fragrance, a little bit different to all the others out there, but certainly in the same genre, same category of some of the aforementioned ones, and something worth checking out if you like these kind of fragrances, and perhaps you've just missed this one because it doesn't leap out at you off the shelves and it doesn't get talked about a lot. So a really nice fragrance for me, and one that a real go-to if I'm just going about my daily business. In terms of occasions, I think this one is a really versatile scent. It would make a great signature scent. You could wear this one to work as long as you don't over apply it. It's suggestive of spring, perhaps that would be the ideal season, but it's got enough clout to work in colder weather, and it's fresh enough that it's not going to be off-putting in summertime either. So really versatile in terms of seasons. For dates, I think it's fine. I think it could be an evening scent. It's not a real beast mode scent, but there's enough there that you're going to get smelled and noticed. So I think this one is an absolute versatility king if you like it. So the smell on this one overall, a little bit mature, classy. I would say mature, grown up and classy. Doesn't mean you have to be old or mature to wear it, but if you are a mature type of young man, it'll be suitable for you. If you want something a little bit classic and retro but with no off-putting animalic or really old school elements to it, this could be a great choice. Has a classic men's cologne type aura about it, and it's classy, sophisticated, somewhat understated, but there enough you'll get noticed. Lovely smooth sandalwood, woody kind of note, combined with this herbaceousness, a certain sweetness, and that brilliant zingy citrus opening makes it an absolute classic traditional men's fragrance in the citrus aromatic category. Armani Eau pour Homme. My mark for this fragrance, I would give this a very solid 8.5 out of 10. It's not spectacularly amazing, but it does its job really well. Check it out if you haven't already tried it. It's really worth trying. 8.5 out of 10 for me for the old vintage formula of Armani Eau pour Homme. Let me know what you think of the video in the comments down below. If you've tried this version or the newer one, I'd love to hear your opinion on it. And as ever, remember, whatever we're doing in life, let's project. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.